I don't really know. I didn't think I was going to be in the lead, but then I just found myself in the lead, and I was like, wow, we are running really slow. But at that point, it was like nice to just have open track to run and not be getting tangled up at all. So I was like, I'm just going to hold my spot, and then I was like, just try to stay as relaxed as possible, and then just trying to keep an eye on like where everyone was and slowly squeeze down. So yeah, definitely not how I thought the race was gonna go. I was like, oh, maybe I'll sit in like third or fourth and then kick the last 100, but yeah, it is what it is.
But the fact that it was slow, so obviously we know you had a lot left at the end, but did you almost kind of feel like, hey, I might need to simulate this in the final, so like that's why we need to push at the end?
Yeah, I think mostly just like thinking about it one thing at a time, like being top 6, but I think it's always good to be like, I think there was like 6 of us that broke away, so it's like you don't need to quite squeeze as much, but I was like, I don't know, you're here now, feel good, and have 2 days, so just like try to get a little bit of that turnover at the end.
And what's your approach going into the trials between, 5K, 10K, something like 10K?
15. 5K 15. Sorry. Yeah. No, you're good.
But yeah, what's your approach as you kind of approach the trials?
Yeah, I think a friend was asking me out the other day. There were like a lot of different rounds, and it was just like, I don't know, I feel like you just have to take it one at a time. Like today it's like focus on this, and then it's like with 2 days off, like not coming back like here to the track and trying to just like, I think a lot of it is like physical, but a lot of it is like the mental and emotional energy too, of like really being able to like go back, recover, shut down, and then be like, okay, I'm not gonna like get up again until Monday.
Do you feel your experience kind of helps you as you go through another answer?
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about that. I think even my experience at like some of the global championships is really helpful, just because those, it's like you're having to run like sub 15 and like be in a crazy race, and so I think like that experience has really helped me. And I think last year too, like doubling in the 10K, 5K was really helpful, because I was like pretty wrecked after the 10 in Budapest, and I was like, you have to just recover like crazy, and basically when you stand on the 5K prelim line, pretend that you like don't have a 10K in your legs. So I think all of that has prepared me for this. Yeah.
Elise, to that point, was it because of those experiences and knowing how excruciating the 5K, 10K is, why the decision to switch this year, or just that's kind of what training had indicated that was a better mix for you this year?
Yeah, I would say mostly kind of like excitement level, honestly. Like I think the 15 is something I haven't done at like a USA's or trials since 2019, and I think it's an event that I still really love, and I feel like this year it's nice that the 5K is first, because the 5K is, even though I say the 15 is my first love, I think the 5K is like my sweet spot, and so having it be first I think is like really nice I'm just excited to, yeah, like I feel like the 15 this year is crazy deep, and to be a part of that is just like really exciting to me, and I think it just will challenge me in a lot of ways, like tactically, mentally, physically, like the rounds, and yeah, it's just something that like really excites me. And I think, talking with Jared, my coach, I think, we kind of were like, I kind of kept being tempted to do the 10, just since Wayne's the only one of the standard, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what if we go out there and just try to run the standard, like, and like I said, the 15 is so deep, but he had a really good, like we had a really good conversation where he's like, you have to do what you're excited about, and like I'm way more excited about the 15.
You seem like super positive, and like you're coming in with like this really awesome energy. Can you speak a little bit about like, I know you're back in Colorado, is that something that's like contributing to like this? You're talking a lot about like the mental side of things.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's something that's sort of coming?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question, and that's like nice to hear, because I think even the last couple of weeks, I think my sisters and a lot of people really close to me have said the same thing, and like, I just kind of feel like in the last little bit, just like, I feel like I've said this before, so some people are like, oh my gosh, you sound like a broken record, but I just feel very like rejuvenated in the sport. I just like felt very, very burnt out, and I feel like when I made the change, it like took a while, and it's kind of that thing where you're kind of like doubting yourself for a little bit when things aren't quite clicking, and you're like, I made this huge mistake. And so I think in some ways that makes it even more rewarding, because I feel like, okay, it was like, excuse my language, was kind of a shit storm for several months, and I was just like, this is the right decision. It may not feel that way right now, and so I think just like continuing to like trust myself and stick through it, and like again just like be close to family and be in a place where I like really love to run right now. It's just, I feel like my approach is is really different.
Yeah, it seems very joyful.
Yeah.
And one other question, kind of somewhat related. It seems like I have always, in watching you race, it seems like you are quite a competitive person.
Yeah.
But also like driven quite by instinct. And it sounds like you're talking about, even today, it seems like you made a decision. You're like, this is the decision I'm going to make.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you have such good questions. I feel like yes, and that's like interesting because I think it's interesting, like you're saying. I think it really goes hand in hand on and off the track, and I don't think I realized that. But I would say the last couple years, I think I had those instincts in certain races, but I felt like some I would go in with one plan, and if it wasn't that way, especially in the global championships, I wasn't like thinking as much on instinct. And I feel like that was something that I was really good at, kind of like in high school and through college. And I feel like in the last few races, I've like gotten that back a lot more, and I think that's fun too. Like today, talking to Jared before, he was like, like let's try not to lead. And I feel like there are times in the past where I think I would have been like stressed if I found myself there, and I was like, this is where it is. I have open track to run. This is where I feel most relaxed. I don't really I felt like a lot of people kind of clipping, and I was like, you don't have to follow exactly like one way, and I feel like it's like making the best of the situation you're in, and then again, like running on instinct of like, okay, I'm gonna wait, kind of see how the race is playing out, decide when to go. And like I think that goes hand in hand with like the joy aspect too, is like that's way more fun than like being stressed out of like, it's not going to plan, I don't know where to be. It's very much just like kind of like, I don't know, the best part of like the job and what we do is being like out there and being like, it's fun to just like see how it unfolds, and I'm just gonna like figure it out and make it work no matter how it goes. So
How long have you been with Jared now?
I've been with him since March.
And when did you feel like it started to click in?
Oh man, I feel like probably after like 6 weeks, and then at like, I'm trying to think, 10 weeks we had like a little bit of a hiccup. I had a little setback like a couple weeks before pre, so I think that was frustrating because I was in a really good spot and then just didn't feel like myself at pre, but didn't miss very much time, and so then I feel like kind of since pre it's been really up from there.
And the decision to leave, you changed coaches twice, I guess, the last year.
Yeah.
So, you go to Team Boss, and then was it hard to leave that? Like a lot of people are going might just stay there like, oh my god, I'm already halfway through the Olympic year. But
yeah, it was really hard. It was really hard, especially because, again, in March, it's like, that's really last minute. And I think, that's a big reason why I went with Jared. Like, we've known each other for 10 plus years, and I think at that point I was like, I need someone that I trust and someone that knows me really well, so there wasn't kind of that learning curve of like getting to know each other.
The training just wasn't working, is it?
I was just not in a very good spot. I think, like I said, just like very burnt out with running, and I think my approach just like, it wasn't very good, and I just felt like I really wasn't myself being in a team dynamic, and I was like, I kind of just need to step away and be making decisions about like my training more and like schedule and racing more individual until I like feel like I'm back in a better spot. Yeah.
And were they checking your shoes or something after the race?
Yeah, they were checking the shoes after. Yeah.
Is that a common thing now, or what?
I don't know. I think sometimes they check spikes. I don't know.
Did they say what? Like they passed? Or did they say anything?
Yeah. They're fine. There's a new dragonflies.
Like, okay.
In the 15, I don't know what your standard running situation is, but if you make the team in both events, would you race both of the Olympics?
TBD. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I think, just trying to take it one at a time. I think it would be fun. I feel like running a 15 at the global level would be really, really fun. So.
I think the heats of one.
It's very, it's not like it's spread out here. So that's definitely something that would need to be figured out if that's the case.
What are some of the biggest changes that you've kind of gone through in your training specifically? What are some things you're doing differently than you were a year ago?
Let's see. I think a big thing is a little bit less mileage and a little more cross training. I think something that was really positive about, I found some consistency with Jerry over time, and I feel like I really built the mileage up, and I got to, was running like 90 to 95 miles, which is something that if you would have told me in college, I never would have thought I would have gotten to. And I think for a while I was very hung up on the mileage and being like, that's what you need to get strong. And I think I kind of went off the other side where I just don't think I was cycling down enough and recovering. And so I would say a big thing is just, hitting the hard workouts really hard, building in a little more recovery, building in some more cross training, just swimming, aqua jog, elliptical, just a little more balanced and packaging more hard days and long runs and harder things together.
And how do you package those together, right? Like, what is your kind of your secret formula in terms of cross training? How often are you swimming? How often are you doing elliptical? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I would say so a few less doubles and then doubling on doubling as cross training. So we started doing like double T. I feel like I've really liked that too. So I think I feel like that's the name of the game, kind of trying to figure out that line of like how can you maximize a training benefit without like going in a deep well, right? So it's like if you can get 10 to 12 miles of work on a double threshold day instead of doing 10 miles all at once, and you get the same or bigger benefit without like breaking down as much. And so I think that's kind of the same idea with the cross training too, is just like I can, especially like I really have liked being back in Colorado and living at altitude full time. I think that's been really good for me and aerobically, and just cross training, like getting that aerobic benefit without just like completely shredding your legs. Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Elise.